If you heard about growth mindset for the first time and immediately thought, that sounds like some bullshit, this is the episode for you. This is X Gifted. Hi, welcome to the X Gifted podcast. I'm Miranda Liza, and I will be your host this evening or morning or whatever, whenever you're listening. So I have a question for you. The first time you heard about growth mindset, did it feel exciting and inspiring? But then soon after, you realized that your mindset is pretty fixed? Then the more people talk about it, the more you feel like you should have a growth mindset, but you realize there's no way to develop a growth mindset without already having a growth mindset about having a growth mindset. It's a classic catch-22 because you need to have a growth mindset in order to get a growth mindset. So if you're like me, you've been struggling with the idea that you were taught as a child that you're smart or not, that you're athletic or not. And now you have this static, fixed view of yourself that feels impossible to change. And the way growth mindset was first presented to me, at least, is like this is something that is taught to children. You are made to have either a fixed or growth mindset based on the way you were spoken to as a child by your parents and teachers. If you have a fixed mindset, they broke you. Sorry, and you can't undo it because you need to have a growth mindset to do that. Sorry again. Can you see just how ridiculous this is coming from people who are trying to teach you that you are capable of change? But it gets worse from there. Let's pair this with years of messaging to just be yourself. So not only who you are is static, and you should never be anyone but who you are as well. So now it feels inauthentic to change this fixed version of yourself, even if you could, because it's like you're lying, hiding, masking who you really are. And then next, you hear that you better have a growth mindset because without one, you're just holding yourself back. So you have to make yourself have one. How? Well, just start believing in things that you've been taught since birth weren't true. Easy, right? I told you to change. Why haven't you changed yet? Growth and fixed mindsets are presented as being diametrically opposed on a moral scale. If you have a growth mindset, then you're doing the right thing and you will be rewarded with success. But if you have a fixed mindset, then that's the bad thing. And you will take not only all the failure, but also all the blame. So you do. You take the blame and you start to think that you deserve it. You deserve to fail at whatever risks you do take because you don't have the good and right mindset to improve. But of course, that doesn't help you either. And it also feels terrible because mindset is not a moral issue. It's just a tool. Blaming someone, including yourself, for your own struggles, for their own struggles, is a misuse of that tool. It is 100% true that your thoughts can hold you back in all areas of your life, but it has to be stressed and explained that there's still no blame to go around, especially if no one ever taught you what to do with your thoughts. Because even in all this talk about how growth mindset is so important, no one ever actually just says, okay, and now here's how you can start believing that you are capable of growth. They just tell you that you should believe it and just to trust them. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about how you can actually address these thoughts directly. How can you start to believe that developing a growth mindset is possible for you? One pretty straightforward way is to look for evidence. And in this case, there's two different kinds of things we can look for. For one, look for evidence of areas where you have a growth mindset now. Like I said in the last episode, everyone has growth mindsets in some areas and has fixed mindsets in other areas. So just look for evidence of those things that you already believe that you can improve, however small they seem. look for areas where you've had a growth mindset in the past. And for 2, the other kind of evidence is to look for areas where you can clearly see that you have improved. Even if you don't feel like you have a growth mindset in that area right now. Are you a better cook than you were 5 years ago? Do you write more words in a day? Can you name more Pokemon? Those are some of mine. And the thing is that if you see evidence of improvement in an area, then that's a seed from which you can grow a growth mindset. Okay, for this next method, I want to give credit to Kara Lowenthiel of the Unfuck Your Brain podcast, because that's where I originally heard of this technique from. I'm not sure where it originated, so I'm just going to give credit to the person that I heard it from. I highly recommend this podcast for any feminists listening, which I hope is everyone. But especially because I'm just going to do like 5 minutes of talking about this right now. And she has over 200 episodes on how you can make your thoughts work for you. So if you have any interest in that, definitely go listen to the Unfuck Your Brain podcast. So this technique is called a thought ladder. It is the most direct, actionable way I know to consciously change a thought. At the bottom of the ladder, put a thought that you currently believe about a growth mindset. Something like, I will never have a growth mindset. At the top of the ladder, write in something really extravagant that you wished you believed instead. Maybe, my thoughts are powerful and my improvement is limitless as long as I believe. The more outrageous and untrue it seems to be, the better, just as long as it's something that you really do wish you could believe about your capacity for growth. And then in the middle, add 3 to 4 rungs, taking baby steps from neutral to progressively more optimistic thoughts. On the second rung, something like, it's possible that I'm wrong when I think I can't develop a growth mindset, kind of like what we used last episode. And a little higher up, maybe, I can do hard things like building a growth mindset. So I'm going to put a free printable version of this up at xgifted.com/thoughts, both with and without my suggested thoughts in there. So you can make one that really resonates with you, but it does give you some options to work with from the start. And so from there, once you have your ladder built, you just practice. Scratch out the one at the bottom and work on the next one up. You can repeat it as an affirmation. It's possible that I'm wrong about my limits. Or you can take a more direct approach and do one of my favorite practices, which is to do a brain dump on the thought. Write the thought that you're practicing out at the top and set a 10-minute timer. For the next 10 minutes, write out all the evidence and thoughts that you have related to the target thought. Thinking about a target thought makes it more real and helps to solidify it, especially when you write it down. But if you hate the idea of writing for 10 minutes, then try talking out loud or even singing to yourself. However you practice, it is best to take action, either speaking the words aloud or writing them down versus just thinking quietly to yourself. So keep doing this just for 10 minutes a day until you look at that rung on the ladder and you say to yourself that of course you believe that it's just obvious, and then move up to the next rung and then repeat the process. The goal isn't to reach the top of the ladder as fast as possible. It might take weeks just to move up one rung, and for some thoughts, you might never reach all the way to the top at all, but of course that's okay because any progress is growth. And so, with just that, just the tiniest bit of progress, you have your evidence that you can grow. What will you do next? Join me again in 2 weeks on October 29th. We're going to get a little spooky and talk about how and why you might expand your growth mindset when it comes to the unexplainable. Bye.